West Ham Massive are pleased to support Irons Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham and Essex communities. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, Barking and Dagenham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of the video details of this stream on YouTube. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Is I can edit bits out like this, and you'll never even know that we said words like cunt. Yeah. Right, so hi, welcome to the West Ham Massive. So we are here today. We're in a not so sunny Lille, as it turns out, in France. We're here to watch the England-Chile game in the Rugby World Cup, which takes place tomorrow. Ben's decided to go native. Look at this. He hasn't got any French in the family whatsoever.
Oh, I'm trying to think if there's any French connection at all.
No.
There isn't. Right, I'm going to get grief for it. I know that, and I'll take that. But look, the way I see it, I bought myself an England top on the same website. There was a nice vintage French rugby top. We're in France. It's nice to have a little memento to look back on in 20, 30 years to come, that me and you come to France to watch the World Cup. And I like the colour, so give me stick, I don't really give a fuck.
He's going to be the most hated man in France. The French will hate him because he's English. The English will hate him because he's wearing a French top. It's very likely that you may never see him again, and maybe I won't either.
Yeah, so
but anyway.
C'est la vie, as they say in Rome.
Bonnet de douche.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we've come all the way over here, and it was nice and sunny when we left England. Good old Blighty, and it's pissing down here, so you can't answer.
There you go. Anyway, for those of you that are joining us, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon, all that good stuff. You know, it makes sense. Let's try and grow this channel as quickly and as far as we can. So before we get stuck into it, I'd like to just say cheers, bruv.
Cheers.
So, obviously last night as we record this, West Ham took to the pitch in their opening game of the Europa League against the mighty TSC Backa Topola. The conditions were rather inclement. We've obviously seen a number of videos of torrential downpours and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, obviously we did the preview, and I'm obviously on record as saying we should have absolutely smashed them to pieces.
Yeah.
It didn't quite pan out like that, Ben.
It didn't, mate. I think statistically though, it kind of looked like bit like the City game against us, but vice versa. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd gone for a 4-0 comprehensive win. It ended up being 3-1. Unfortunately, I didn't catch the game. I'll be honest, but obviously I kept an eye on it through WhatsApp and Twitter. Obviously, we dominated the game by the look of it.
Yeah.
But obviously we went 1-0 down. Bit of a scare, but. You've only got to look at some of the other English teams in Europe last night. Villa got done, Brighton got done at home. Like, you take these lesser countries, teams at your peril, and at the end of the day, I think overall it seemed like it was a fairly dominant performance in the end, and a 3-1 win. So you can't really argue with that as to kick off the European campaign.
No, I mean, obviously 3 points is 3 points. I mean, for me, I did watch the game, and the first half was very, very frustrating because it was one of those where statistically, as you mentioned, we were far and away the better team. In fact, it wasn't a 2-horse race. I mean, they were as poor as I thought they would be. Right. The problem was for me, and especially in the first half, is that as far as our attacking, cutting thrust was concerned, in that final third, I mean, we kept the ball, we moved the ball well, nice sort of pretty patterns, nice little triangles, moving the ball from back to front, lovely. Got to the final third, and that was where it just sort of kind of lacked a little bit of quality. Right. Their goalkeeper was very, very dodgy. I mean, I was just going, just have a shot, more shots, test that goalkeeper, get them on target. He's going to concede goals. He looks so dodgy, and we didn't. I mean, it was just really frustrating to watch.
I think for me, I mean, obviously we're on the same WhatsApp group. I was a little bit critical of the team Moyes put out before I actually get the ball had been kicked. I just felt it was, for me, I wanted to see, for me as a team, and Ings is not a lone front man, and whenever we've put him out there, it doesn't work, and it continues not to work. So, and I think it probably didn't work last night by the sound of it. I would have liked Mubama to get a run out from the start with Ings, and I think that gives Mubama the opportunity he deserves, and it brings the best out of Ings because he's got someone with a bit of physical presence with him up top. That didn't happen, but by the by, it was a fairly strong side, but in the end, the quality told in the second half, mainly from our set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sort of, we got into the half-time interval. It was 0-0, and I think we had about 80-odd% possession, and you're sort of sitting there going, okay, it's just a matter of time. And a couple of minutes in, I mean, Ogbonna makes a mistake, very uncharacteristic, it has to be said. Ogbonna has been a great servant to the club. Yeah, you could turn around and say he's getting to a stage in his career where he's a little bit past his prime. Or is he? I mean, maybe. Defenders tend to go on a little bit, we've said it before, at the age that Ogbonna is he past his prime or is he in his prime years? But be that as it may, he makes a mistake, he makes a really bad rip. Very uncharacteristic for him, it has to be said. He was wearing the captain's armband on the night, and we go 1-0 down, and it's very, very disappointing. And at that point, I don't know about you, I was really fearing the worst. I know that when we went back, if you look at the first game in the group stage of the Conference League, we played again arguably the weakest team at London Stadium in FCSB last season, and we went 1-0 down. So it was exactly the same as the corresponding fixture in the European competition last season. We went 1-0 down in a tie against the weakest team in the group stage, and you're sitting there thinking, what's going on? But the one thing I will say is I was quite heartened by the way that we managed to turn it around. And the funny thing is, do you know what? It's really weird because I did watch the game, and I've got to say there was a couple of standout performances for me, and I think that one was Mohamed Kudus on his full debut, who I think performed very admirably. Good. And I know that obviously the first goal ended up going down as an own goal, but I maintain that had it not been for Kudus being in there and making a nuisance of himself, that own goal doesn't happen.
So if Kudus isn't there, the player just leisurely clears it out the box.
Exactly. But it's funny because I've seen a lot of people, social media. Look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's fine. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying they're wrong. But I did sort of was quite surprised that there were people out there that were saying that Kudus didn't have a bad game, and I was like, well, this is his full debut in a heavily rotated team. And I thought he showed flashes of real promise there for me.
Well, yeah. Look, at the end of the day, he's coming in from the Dutch league. Moyes is going to play him carefully, and when I was keeping an eye on Twitter, he was given the first goal, then he got the second. One of them's been scrubbed off, but you can't ask for too much more in terms of expectation than a debut and a goal. Do you know what I mean? So it's only going to get better from him, and who knows if the rumours are to be told the truth that Bowen might not be fit for Sunday, then I'd say Kudos has got a good chance of starting on Sunday. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, and another player that has come in for a little bit of criticism, rightly or wrongly, and everybody's got their opinions again. And anybody that's watching this that wants to get their opinions in, you've got a comment section below, please get stuck into that. But someone has always divided opinion throughout his West Ham career was Saeed Benrahma, and again, his attacking output was sort of like a bit hit and miss, up and down. But then he was the guy that got the assist for that goal from Kudus that got us 2-1 up and got us the advantage, and I was very pleased for him. Obviously at 2-1, I've got to be honest, I was sitting there and I was watching it, and to be fair, I felt, and you referenced Danny Ings earlier, that Danny Ings as a lone striker, and you said it in the preview, about if you're going to play him as a lone striker, you might as well not play him because that's not his game. And I think it showed again that that statement is entirely correct.
Yeah.
But then when Antonio came on for Pablo Fornals, and I felt so sorry for Pablo Fornals that he'd had a game that he just didn't look right. He didn't look like the prime Pablo Fornals in claret and blue. It's just not happening for him, and it's very regrettable.
Yeah.
But Antonio comes on, and I think it was at that point that when Ings had a strike partner to sort of work with, that Ings started to look much better than when he was there on it ploughing a lone furrow up top. And obviously I felt then a little bit sorry for Danny Ings that we go 2-1 up, and the first substitution that David Moyes makes is Danny Ings comes off for Thomas Soucek, which I thought was a bit of strange. I'm just being really honest. I thought that the messaging of you're 2-1 up, but you're against really what would be considered the whipping boys of the group.
Yeah.
And you're bringing off a striker, and you're bringing on a more defensive-minded player. I thought the messaging was a little bit odd, but of course, what do I know? Because a very short time later, who scores the third goal to basically seal the game? It was Thomas Soucek.
Yeah, I agree. But like I say, I think it's harsh on Fornals, it's harsh on Ings, but when they're given the opportunity to start, they've really got to stake their claim. And by the sound of it, neither of them really did. Yeah, Ings might have perked up a bit when Antonio come on. So I agree. Take off Paqueta, take off a midfielder and bring on Soucek. Don't take off Ings. Give Ings the chance, as much chance as you can, to nick a goal for his confidence. Moyes didn't, but it is what it is. I don't think we get too excited on the basis we've scored an own goal and from 2 corners.
Yeah.
So we haven't carved them open with great play and scored a goal. Great that James Ward-Prowse got another 2 assists.
2 assists, great.
Keeping that game, and I'm really pleased that the set-piece game is looking a real threat again. But it's one of them games that it's a bit of confidence. It's a win, and we just move on. Hopefully we've got a lot left in the tank for Liverpool on Sunday because we're going to need it. And, by the sound of it as well, Kudos had a good game, and I'm hearing really good feedback on Mavropanos.
Yeah.
People are saying he was really solid, interceptions, just looked like an absolute unit, and quite a few people are calling him to start on Sunday. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but I think especially a Gerd, he's going to be feeling someone breathing down his neck, and he needs to cut out the silly mistakes that I think he has made start of this season. And
that is a good thing for that competition for places. You've got Mavropanos that's looking at the first team spot that Agur is currently occupying. You've got Kudus that's looking at the first team spot of either Jared Bowen or Saeed Benrahma, or possibly even Michael Antonio, because I do think that those three places up, wide left, wide right and central are really interchangeable. Those three players, you could move them around depending upon the opposition. There's good competition for places at the moment, and I think that's the one thing that I was quite heartened by. Obviously, the transfer window, I think we did some good business. Obviously, it could have been better, but I think that the business that we did was sensible, given obviously the money that we got in from the outgoings of Gianluca Scamacca, Declan Rice, whatever. I think that it's really sort of given us a little bit more. In my opinion, it's made us more a complete starting 11 and bench as well. But talking of the bench, I mean, one thing I do want to touch on, you sort of briefly sort of mentioned him earlier, Divine Mubama. I don't get why. Okay, when Thomas Souček scored the goal, we're 3-1 up with a home team. We're dominating. We're dominating possession. All right, the scoreboard maybe not so much, but it is what it is. But I really don't get. He brought on 4 subs. He had another sub that he could have made, and Divine Mubama didn't come on. I mean, if you were him, how much do you be feeling?
Not great, to be honest, mate. I think, I kicked off a little bit because we've got a fantastic under-18 team that have just won the league and the FA Youth Cup, first time in 20-odd years. A lot of those lads have stepped up to under-21s and doing the business. And if you ain't going to put them on the bench, I mean, the bench was stacked full of first-teamers, yeah? If you're not going to put them on the bench against this crowd, then they're not going to get a shot. And Mubama was the one that was on the bench and didn't even get a minute, which is disappointing because the way I see it, if he's not getting a look in here, he's not getting much of a look in at all, in which case, loan him out.
Yes.
Give him the experience. And, why bring on Souček with 15 minutes to go when you could have brought on Mubama?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Moyes has got his ways. Maybe it's a way of giving people a kick up the arse to try even harder in training. But it was a bit disappointing for me because I just think against who are going to be most likely the whipping boys in the group, you've got to give the young lads a bit of a run out, which we didn't give the opportunity to, but Moyes has got his own plan. So, and look, you look at Liverpool. Liverpool have gone away in Europe and they had a 17-year-old starting and a 20-year-old starting. We had not one player from the youth team on the pitch, and I think our youngest player was Kudus, who's 23. I want to see young, ideally homegrown talent in the team to complement the senior players that we've got.
Do you think if you was a youth player, any youth player, whether it's Divine Mubama, Ollie Scholes, Regan Clayton, George Earthy, whoever you want to name, the guys that were involved in that team, like you say, Liverpool players getting involved at that age level in a Europa game, opening game, and then West Ham, basically only one player from that age group on the bench, not getting a minute. How and obviously there was obviously the WhatsApp group that you referenced. There was the player, I can't remember the guy's name, but who went from West Ham to Manchester City. He's like an under 16, under 18.
Yeah, he wasn't part of the under 18 success team because he's even younger.
Yeah, but the messaging, that subliminal messaging of the players that have done all of that in that team last season and into this season are still doing really great things, and they're not involved in this match, which is a home match against the weakest opposition. That I don't think is great messaging, and probably those players are probably sitting there and thinking, well, if we're not going to get an opportunity here, when are we?
And look, right, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I have my personal beliefs. I want to see good young English talent given a chance at West Ham massively, but we've had a great start to the season. Yeah, in the scheme of things, we've just won, so I don't want to harp on about it. But it is coincidental that we've just yet lost a top talent within the youth setup to Man City, and like you've just said, our under-18s couldn't have done any more, and none of them are getting a look in. Whether any of them, whether they're ready or not, is I don't know. I'd like to think a few of them might be ready given the opportunity, but they're not. They're currently not being given the opportunity by Moyes, which is a little disappointing for me. But we've started the season well, so I don't want to dwell on the negative.
Final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Final thoughts. Look, I think we made harder work of it than we all hoped we would.
Yep.
But on reflection, when you look at a 3-1 win, with the stats that we had, we was dominant. Kudus has come in and nicked a goal, pressured an own goal. Mavropanos has started and give a good account of themselves. So there's some real positives in there. We're top of the group and we move on to Liverpool.
Yeah, and just to sort of finish off, for me, I think on the basis of what I watched, I mean, there was probably 3 standout performances. I think Kudus, I originally gave my vote as man of the match to Mohamed Kudus. Konstantinos Mavropanos was a close second, but do you know what? When I sort of watched it back again, I revised my thoughts, and the guy that I thought was very, in my opinion, the one that should have been the man of the match, actually on reflection, was James Ward-Prowse. You referenced the 2 goals that he assisted from corners. His set piece routine is absolutely superb. I thought that he's a real leader, in my opinion. And it's obviously not an opinion that David Moyes shares. In my opinion, if there was someone that should be wearing the armband for West Ham, I believe it should be him. But that's not to say that Kurt Zouma's done a bad job. He's obviously done a good job thus far. Obviously, David Moyes believes that he's the choice going forwards, and if that's the case, then I give him my full support. But I think that James Ward-Prowse, absolutely stunning. You know, when you sort of look and go, well, every single game he's been involved in West Ham United since he's walked through the door, he's either scored a goal or got an assist. Absolutely brilliant signing for West Ham. Obviously, we go to Liverpool on Sunday. We're going to do another recording tomorrow, which will obviously go out on the channel, and we'll give our thoughts on that. But yeah, you're right. We obviously had a little bit of banter, a little bit of sort of like, you know, a little bit of hyperbole on my part where I said, you know, it should have been 5-0, whatever. And there's still a part of me that thinks it should have been, and on the basis of the possession and all the rest of it, maybe that should have been the case. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. We move on, we reset and go again. And look, you know, if it goes exactly the same as last season, we go 1-0 down in the first game at home against the weakest opposition, we come back to win it, and we go on to pick the trophy up at the end of that, then do you know what? Nobody will care, because nobody now, having won the Conference League, nobody sort of goes, yeah, but we went 1-0 down to FCSB in the first game. Nobody gives a shit, so it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, guys, if you've liked this particular stream, don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell notification, follow us on our social media platforms, and keep in touch. So we'll see you soon. Come on, you Irons, and we'll see you next time for the Liverpool preview.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
All right, gents. Just thought I'd give you my views on the game last night for what it's worth. Always good to get off with a win, no matter how you do it. 3-1. I don't think it flattered us at all. We made it hard for ourselves, but we could have scored. We could have scored plenty more, really. I think we probably lacked a little bit of intensity in the first half, and we just thought the goal would come eventually. But it would have been nice to see us, if we'd have got an early goal, we would have been 3-0 up at half time. I think they wasn't up to a lot, that side. Obviously Ogbonna got a little bit sloppy, but that's what happens if your centre halves are playing on the halfway line and you want them to get on the ball and knock it about. So I don't think there's anything to be too worried about there. In terms of performances, I think Ward-Prowse is such a good signing for us. I feel like we could score every time we get a corner or a free kick. With the players we got in the team, the big centre halves, and you know, when Alvarez is up and when Alvarez is back, with Souček as well, I feel like with his set pieces, you're you've always got a chance in the game. No matter who you're playing, you've always got a chance. So it just makes so much sense. Thought Ben Rama was good as well. One of his better games, but we just need to see more of those sort of performances from him. A bit more end product. Kudu's good to get off the mark. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see that people have given him mixed reviews so far, but I think he'll come good, just needs time. So I'm happy with that. The other thing I was thinking about was Danny Ings. Bit of a weird one last night. Whenever he plays, he reminds me of like when Harry Kane plays for England. He's always trying to do everything but what you want him to do. You want him to be in the box between, you don't want him coming short or being 30 yards out trying to play 1-2s. You just want him to be a presence in the box. So it's weird for me, but I'm not sure. I mean, he desperately needs a goal, doesn't he? Desperately needs a goal for us. But I'm not gonna slag him off too much, because I mean, he's clearly trying, and he's trying to make things happen, but it just shouldn't be. That shouldn't be his job. We've got players in there to do that. So we'll see. Liverpool Sunday. Looking forward to it. Would be lovely to get something there. Lovely. I'll take anything against Liverpool. So let's see. Come on, you Irons.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Irons Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham and Essex communities. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, Barking and Dagenham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of the video details of this stream on YouTube. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.